Hi everyone, my name is Joe Casey and I'm a Scout Leader at Gordon Park Troop, part of Charles Snow District in Brisbane North Region. A number of you may have seen me at District, Region or Triple S activities and Scouts over the years. I've been a leader for over 35 years. Long before that though, I was a soldier. In fact, I was a soldier for nearly 25 years. I joined the Army at age 17. I trained as an officer and was commissioned as a 19-year-old second lieutenant in the Royal Australian Engineers. We call ourselves sappers. It's an old term describing the men used to dig trenches around sieged castles. Sappers build things and also destroy things, so we say we make and we break. At age 20, I was deployed to South Vietnam as part of a combat engineer squadron, providing assistance to infantry and cavalry and other parts of the Australian Task Force fighting Viet Cong and North Vietnamese regular troops. We were sent to a place called Nui Dat, and when we arrived we had to build the whole base from scratch for over 3,000 troops, including an airfield, helipads, lots of roads, water supply, digging infield defences and command posts. We then wired up for electricity all the buildings as they went up. We had all sorts of tradesmen, plant operators and drivers. All the men were trained as combat engineers as well, so they also built wire obstacles, laid minefields and helped to clear enemy minefields and their booby traps. You may have heard of tunnel rats. Our squadron were known as the tunnel rats. Our enemy had built huge tunnel complexes, including hospitals, workshops, command posts and fighting positions, as much as 10 or more metres below ground. Because we had superior artillery and air forces, the enemy had to build things like this to survive. When the entrance to a tunnel was located, we were the people to go into it to search for papers, weapons and equipment. This sometimes meant we had to fight underground. We got lots of good intelligence from the form of prisoners, paperwork and maps, diaries, and we collected these after the fighting was over. Because I was pretty small, I weighed under 60 kilos at that stage, I was in charge of tunnel rescue. If a soldier got trapped in the narrow passages, and this happened at times, and we had people die if they got trapped and we couldn't get to them in time. Besides tunnel work, which didn't happen all the time, we'd be out with the infantry battalions or cavalry squadrons when they were in operations. We'd have to destroy rice stockpiles owned by the enemy, go in front of the infantry scouts and search for tripwires or booby traps. If a man or a vehicle hit a mine, we'd have to clear around the incident for other mines before casualties could be recovered or treated. Because of the pressure, sometimes our sappers were also blown up doing their job. Now I imagine some of you might be wondering what all this has to do with Anzac Day. When I was your age, I'd heard lots of stories about World War I and World War II, Korea and Malaysia, and the fighting that went on in those conflicts. I never thought I'd be involved in similar work. I thought of the old soldiers, sailors and airmen from those wars and admired what they did. I read the comics and I went to the movies and I thought how wonderful it looked to be shooting weapons and winning battles. I can tell you it isn't wonderful at all. When you read about or see movies of battles, no matter what country is fighting and who is winning, I want you to see through the obvious and remember that those troops are suffering most of the time. They are either suffering from the cold or the heat. They have to lie out in wet conditions, sometimes for a day or more in ambushes. They are usually hungry and thirsty. They often have had little or no sleep for days. They are being bitten or stung by insects or getting torn by thorny vines. They are scared and they wish they were at home with their families. But they're doing their job and they're being loyal to their mates. No matter what their personal feelings are for the people that they are fighting, no matter what they think of the politicians that sent them to fight that war, they are doing their duty. And while they're doing that, other people are trying to kill them. The sights, the sounds, the smells of battle never leave you. It isn't glamorous or fun. At another time I served in Palestine, Israel, Syria, Jordan and Lebanon. In 2 world wars, many Australians fought in those countries too. I was there much later with the United Nations. Our job was to observe and report on what the different sides were doing to keep the fighting from flaring up again. We were unarmed to do this job, so we could go from side to side like referees do in sports matches. But we had a lot less authority than the football referee has, I can assure you. At times the fighting was serious, and I saw jets shot down, a 16-inch gun-armed battleship firing over our heads, huge truck bombs detonated under buildings used as barracks, with hundreds killed as a result. These are undeclared wars, but that doesn't make them any less fearful or dangerous than the better-known wars. Australian officers are still serving in that role today, and our involvement started in 1956. It is Australia's longest military deployment. I've been to Gallipoli several times. The Turkish people are wonderful, particularly to Australians. It isn't very big as battlefields go. It's a rugged piece of ground. It couldn't have been a nice place to visit like it is now. If you get the chance, go there. It doesn't have to be on Anzac Day. The place is probably better when the crowds aren't there. Lots of people died or suffered terrible injuries on that ground, on all sides. Yet the Turkish people don't hold any grudge against us, even if they were very easily could. After all, we invaded them. Despite the 8,000 Australians killed and nearly 26,000 wounded that we suffered at Gallipoli, what faced the Australians after they left there and went to France and Belgium was so much worse. In one overnight battle, Australians suffered nearly 2,000 killed and 3,000 wounded or missing. As well as the physical suffering they had to put up with, what their mental health would have been like when they came home, it would have been dreadful. Australian Defence Force members from more recent conflicts are treated better now when they return than the earlier times. Despite that, veterans suffer higher suicide rates than others in our community. There's a lot of help out there for those people who need it, but often there is a sense of denial and some vets leave it far too late to seek for help. I belong to a group called Mates for Mates who offer help to those who have served. Professional help and activities to provide more general help are available through such organisations. I've been on a tall ship sailing from Brisbane to Sydney with them. I go on bike rides, horse riding, bushwalking, do yoga and can exercise in their gym. All this is free to vets to help them to adjust after they leave the forces. However, simply seeing a man or woman wearing medals on their left breast and saying thank you for the service they gave is the best medicine for most of us. I hope you have a memorable Anzac Day and thank you for listening.